So, yeah, there are basically two kinds of Claude Code users: the ones who treat it like fancy autocomplete and the ones who unlock its real power. If you want to be that second kind, this guide's definitely for you. I'll walk you through every built-in command Claude Code offers, one by one, pulling examples straight from my solo dev life. These commands literally changed how I work, saved me from burning through tokens, wasting time, or rewriting the same SwiftUI view 3 times because I forgot to clear my context. Yeah, this isn't going to be some dry walkthrough. Consider this your real-world survival guide for indie devs. Let's get into it. Real quick, I'm Daniel. I've been in the iOS game almost 8 years now, freelancing, shipping apps for other folks. But since Dub 25, I went full solo dev, started building in public, and yeah, kind of figuring out this personal brand thing as I go. But more on that in another video. So here's something I wish I realized way earlier with Claude Code / commands. They aren't just shortcuts. They're like unlocking dev mode on your AI assistant. And look, as solo devs, we wear enough hats already. One day we're debugging memory leaks. Next day we're designing onboarding flows in Figma. Last thing we need is to fight our own tools. When I finally started treating / commands as part of my tool belt, not just hidden extras, the whole experience changed. Claude went from cool AI sidekick to actual engineering partner. I could start fresh when I needed focus, summarize my day's work like a journal, customize Claude's thinking, control exactly what Claude touches in my project files. So yeah, these commands are literally how you drive Claude Code. Once you know them, you stop guessing what Claude can do and just straight up ask for what you need. Ready to unlock that power? Let's jump into the first command. Okay, so /bug. I get it. You're probably thinking, I'm just one dev using this tool. Does anyone actually care if I run into a bug? But here's the twist. With Claude Code, your bug report isn't just disappearing into some corporate black hole. Anthropic seriously pays attention. They've got a public GitHub repo. The devs are active. They actually respond. Yeah, it's wild. So next time something breaks or even acts kind of weird, just run bug, describe what happened, and hit send. Bonus points if you toss in screenshots or steps to reproduce it. Think of it like contributing to open source, but without opening VS Code. You're helping the whole community and future you. Feels good, right? If you're only going to remember one Claude Code command, let it be /clear. Seriously, here's the move. Every time you finish a chunk of work, maybe you finally tame that weird SwiftUI stack bug, or you shipped a feature you've been putting off, run /clear. It's like wiping the whiteboard clean before your next idea. I used to think, does it really matter? But every time I skipped it, Claude would start acting like it was half asleep, slow, random, or just straight up weird. These days, I hit auto clear like muscle memory. New bug, clear. New feature, clear. If things get even a little wonky, you guessed it, clear. Think of it as your solo dev reset ritual, a tiny habit, big impact. If /clear is your reset button, /compact is your time machine. Here's how I think of it. Solo dev days get messy. You're deep in the zone, ideas and bugs and half-baked plans everywhere. But you know tomorrow's you or next week's you won't remember why you did half this stuff. Enter /compact. I use it like a digital bookmark, summarize the conversation so far and start fresh, but with a snapshot of all the good ideas and key decisions still in context. And the best part, you can tell Claude what to focus on. Want just the to-dos or only the big decisions? Just ask. It's like a git commit, but for your brain. Solo dev magic, honestly. All right, you know how every developer secretly loves spending a little too much time in their settings menu? Yeah, /config is Claude Code's version of that. The first time I opened it up, I realized, wait, I can actually make this tool feel like mine? I mean, whether you're Team Dark Mode, Vim Diehard, or just want Claude to show its thinking or keep it quiet, this is your spot. Whenever I jump into a new project, I spend a minute tweaking slash config the results. Smoother sessions, less clutter, and Claude actually works the way I want, so don't skip this one. A few quick tweaks, and Claude Code feels less like a generic chatbot and more like your own custom copilot. This one's straightforward but essential, especially if you're running Claude Code via the API or just want to avoid surprise bills. Real talk, there's nothing more indie dev than worrying about budgets. If you're running Claude Code through the API, that slash cost command is your personal finance tracker. I check it like I check the weather before and after every big session, just to make sure I'm not about to get blindsided by a surprise bill. Even if you're on the pro or max plan and don't see much here, it's still good hygiene. It's the solo dev version of measure twice, cut once. So next time you dive into a late night refactor, give slash cost a quick check. Your future self and your wallet will thank you. Sometimes stuff breaks. Not your fault, not Claude's fault, just the joy of dev tools. Doctor checks if Claude Code is installed right and has all the permissions it needs. Here's the thing about being a solo dev. When something breaks, there's no IT team to call. Your tech support, QA, and the developer all at once. That's why I love the slash doctor command. When stuff stops working, or Claude refuses to cooperate, I just type slash doctor and let it give me the rundown. Missing permissions, outdated package. It'll catch most of it before I spiral into debugging rabbit holes. I actually make a habit of running slash doctor after every major update. Just a quick checkup before I dive back into code. It's the solo dev equivalent of, did you restart it yet? Save yourself the headache. Let doctor give your setup a clean bill of health before you spend your whole night troubleshooting. You might think you'll remember all these commands, but trust me, a week from now, you'll forget half of them. Look, nobody's handing out medals for memorizing every Claude Code command. That's why slash help exists. It's your built-in lifeline. I use it the way I use Stack Overflow, constantly and without shame. Whenever I come back from a break or Anthropic sneaks in a new feature, I run slash help just to see what's changed. Sometimes I even discover commands I'd totally missed. So next time you draw a blank or just want to double check, hit slash help. It's like having a quick reference sticky note, but way less likely to get lost. Let's be real. This is hands down the most important first step command in Claude Code. Here's why. Every time you start a new project or even open an old one you haven't touched in a while, you want Claude to actually understand what you're working on. That's where slash init comes in. Run it, and Claude Code scans your whole code base, every folder, every file, and builds a claude.md file for you. Think of it as your project's living brain, a summary of your app structure, key components, and main functions. But it gets even better. This file becomes persistent memory for your project. Claude is stateless between chats, but as long as you've got claude.md, every new session starts by reading it first. That means Claude's always up to speed. Here's my solo dev routine. Whenever I clone a repo, pick up a side project, or just have that where did I leave off feeling, slash init is always my first move. I'll skim the generated claude.md, and I'm not kidding. Half the time it finds files or details I totally forgot about. The best part? You can and should edit claude.md as your project evolves. Add your own notes, coding standards, architecture diagrams, onboarding tips for your future self, whatever will help. Next time you or even Claude need context fast. Bottom line, if you want Claude to be more than just a chatbot, always start with slash init. It's the ultimate setup ritual for solo devs. This command is where the real power of Claude Code kicks in. It's all about building and managing persistent memory. 3 types of memory. Project memory, the claude.md in your project root. Used for everything Claude needs to know about this specific repo, user memory, your global settings, preferences, pet peeves, code style, etc. Workflow tips: store your Swift naming conventions in user memory, store API schemas or architectural diagrams in project memory, reference extra files in claude.md with at a filename.md for modular memory. What I wish I knew sooner: you don't have to overthink memory at first. Let it grow as you use Claude Code more. Start with what's important, add as you go. Here's where Claude Code stops being just a chatbot and starts feeling like a real teammate. Let's talk about slash memory, the command that gives Claude actual long-term memory, not just a goldfish attention span. At first, I didn't think I'd use this much, but honestly, it's a game changer. There are two flavors of memory: project memory, that claude.md file in your repo. This is where you keep all the stuff that matters for this project: architecture overviews, API endpoints, data models, even coding standards. Every time you start a new chat, Claude reads this file first. User memory: this is your personal cheat sheet, stuff that applies across every project. Naming conventions, preferred variable styles, little things like, "Hey Claude, never call me sir," in responses. I even keep my favorite code formatting rules in here. Here's my real workflow. Whenever I hit a workflow speed bump, Claude keeps naming things the wrong way, or I always forget this one API route, I just update the relevant memory. It's like teaching your own personal AI, but you only have to do it once. Pro tip: you can even reference extra files from your claude.md using at filename.md, so you can break out your memory into modules as your projects get more complex. What I wish I knew earlier: you don't have to fill out memory perfectly on day one. Start with what's tripping you up and let your memory files grow naturally as you build. The more you invest here, the more helpful Claude gets, and the less time you spend repeating yourself. If you want Claude to actually get you, use slash memory. It's how solo devs get their AI partner to finally remember what matters. All right, let's talk trust. By default, Claude's like that cautious new teammate, asks before doing anything risky. Want to edit a file, run a bash command, fetch something from the web? Claude will pause and ask, "Hey, is this cool?" That's where permissions comes in. It's your command center for deciding exactly what Claude can and can't do, both globally and per project. You get to whitelist, allow, or blacklist, deny specific commands, files, actions, and even external tools. And yes, you can use wildcards. So if you want to allow npm run build everywhere, but block rm/rf, please block it. You can. Real talk, this one matters. A while back, I got a little too comfortable and whitelisted a command for a test repo. Forgot about it. Weeks later, in a late night haze, I almost let Claude delete my whole source folder. Total indie dev horror story, but also a wake-up call. My advice? Start tight and loosen as needed. Only grant permissions you really need for your workflow. Review them once in a while. I make it a Friday ritual. And if you ever let Claude auto-approve file edits or bash commands, double-check which files and which commands. Best part: if you ever forget what's allowed or denied, just run slash permissions to see your rules at a glance. Edit, remove, or add new ones on the fly. Bottom line, slash permissions is how you keep your code base safe, your tools under control, and your indie dev sanity intact. Don't sleep on it. One good setup can save you hours and possibly tears down the road. If you ever wished you had a second pair of eyes on your code, even when you're working solo, these two commands are pure gold. Here's how I use them. Whenever I'm about to merge a feature refactor, I'll open a pull request on GitHub. Yep, even for my solo projects. Then I'll run slash PR comments in Claude Code. Instantly, I see all my PR comments, no context switching, no browser hopping. It's like pulling the whole conversation into my coding flow. But the real magic: review slash This one lets Claude do a full code review on your PR, just like a thoughtful teammate would. It catches things I missed, points out edge cases, and sometimes even nudges me about that one to do I meant to fix but totally forgot. For solo devs, it's like leveling up your code quality without ever asking a friend to take a quick look. Pro tip: even if you're the only dev on the repo, this workflow helps you step back and see your work from a fresh angle. It saved me from pushing embarrassing bugs more than once. You know that moment when you open a project after a few days or weeks away and you're like, wait, what mode am I in? Which model am I using? Did I ever turn on that fancy feature? That's where /status comes in. Think of it as your all-in-one dashboard. Just run /status and boom, you get a snapshot of everything that matters. Which account are you logged into? No more oops, wrong API key moments. Which model are you currently running? Opus Sonnet or something else? What memories are loaded? Project, user, both? What's your workspace? Handy if you're jumping between client gigs, side projects, or open source. I use /status like a pre-flight checklist before I start a big feature or ship something to production. It's a 5-second habit that saves me from facepalm mistakes, like pushing code with the wrong config or forgetting which model's making all the decisions. Pro tip: I'll often run /status right after a session restart or after switching branches, just to make sure everything's lined up. It's one of those simple solo dev rituals that makes you feel way more in control. Bottom line, whenever you feel lost or want to double check your setup, just hit /status. It's your instant lay of the land. Let's be honest. If you've ever tried writing a long multi-step prompt in your terminal or VS Code, you've probably mashed enter by accident and sent a half-finished thought straight to Claude. Been there, done that. That's where /terminal setup comes in. With a single command, you can set up your environment, VS Code, iTerm2, etc., to use Shift Presenter or Option Planner for new lines. So you can draft out longer prompts, code blocks, or multi-step instructions without that oops, sent too soon moment. I didn't realize how much this mattered until I started using more complex prompts, breaking down problems, pasting longer snippets, or just wanting to ask for feedback on a chunk of code and give some context. Suddenly, my flow felt way smoother, more like writing in a good text editor than shouting at a chatbot. Pro tip: run /terminal setup right after installing Claude Code, or anytime you're switching up your setup. It takes 30 seconds, but it'll save you hours of accidental headaches, especially when you're deep in the zone. Bottom line, if you want Claude to feel like a true coding partner, not just a one line at a time assistant, don't skip /terminal setup. Your future prompts and your nerves will thank you. You know who you are. If you've ever typed WQ in muscle memory, or if your fingers naturally reach for HJKL when moving around code, this one's for you. Just run Vim and Claude Code flips into Vim mode. Suddenly you've got your favorite key bindings, navigation, and that little burst of nostalgia for your first real coding editor. It makes editing and prompting feel like home, especially if you bounce between Terminal and Claude all day. Not a Vim person, no worries. Skip this, nothing changes. But if you live and breathe Vim, this command means you never have to choose between old habits and new AI tools. Indie tip: I toggle Vim mode on for focus sprints, especially when I'm in just let me edit fast and stay in the zone mode. It's a small detail, but for a solo dev, those little comforts can make a session feel effortless. Let's be honest, one of the coolest things about Claude Code is that you can actually shape it to fit your solo workflow, not just how the docs say to use it. That's where custom /commands come in. And this is honestly one of the best ways to cut out busy work as an indie dev. Here's how it works. If you ever find yourself repeating the same detailed prompt like audit this SwiftUI file for accessibility, or give me a summary of all functions in this file, or even write a README for this directory. You don't have to keep typing it from scratch or digging through old chat history. Instead, you can save that favorite prompt as a markdown file, give it a command name, and suddenly you've got a brand new custom command. Next time, just run your / command and Claude instantly knows exactly what you want. It's kind of like making your own hotkeys, but for AI, so the stuff you ask for all the time becomes effortless. For me, I started saving custom prompts for little reviews, boilerplate checks, and those sanity check this logic moments. Suddenly, my flow got a lot faster, and I could focus more on building rather than re explaining myself to the AI. How to make it work for you. Whenever you notice you're using a prompt more than once, save it as a custom / command. Name your commands in a way that makes sense to you, whatever clicks in your brain during a late night session. Don't stress about being perfect. Just start saving what helps and refine as you go. I think that's what makes custom commands so powerful. They grow with you. As your projects evolve, you'll keep finding ways to tune them, swap out what you don't need, and double down on what makes your workflow smooth. For solo devs, this is about making Claude Code feel personal, not generic. And when your AI actually gets your favorite shortcuts, you'll wonder how you ever worked without it. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything I've learned about mastering Claude Code commands as a solo indie dev. Not just what the commands technically do, but how you can actually use them to level up your day-to-day workflow, stay organized, and honestly, save yourself from a few headaches along the way. If you've got your own Claude stories, little tricks you figured out, commands you swear by, or even some late-night debugging horror stories, drop them in the comments. Seriously, I love hearing that stuff, and I bet other devs do too. And hey, if something didn't quite make sense, or you ran into a weird issue with any of these commands, ask away. I try my best to answer every question, even if the answer is, yeah, been there, no clue how I fixed it. If this guide helped you out or just gave you some ideas, feel free to like, subscribe, or share it with another indie dev who's figuring out how to fit Claude into their flow. At the end of the day, solo dev life can feel like a grind, but you're not doing it alone. We're all in this together. Keep crafting, keep building, and don't let an awkward prompt or weird AI response stop you from shipping something amazing. Catch you next time. Peace.